All right, everybody, welcome back. So this article just came out, I think yesterday, yeah, or no, on the 16th, and in Wired magazine, and oh man, the ads and the pop-ups, um, written by Brandy Collins Dexter, and it's titled "What Crash? Black People Are Still Crypto's Biggest Believers." For some people of color, crypto isn't in crisis. In the midst of the FTX trial, I went to the Black Blockchain Summit to talk to the movement's diehard optimists. If it's not already there, I'll put the link in the show description. This is a very good article on what happened, and adds some things that I missed, and then in a moment I'll get to this little bit of a backstory that I think is somewhat interesting and does, I think, on the low, pop up in the story. Hold on, let me see if I can block some of this background noise I think you might be hearing. Hold on one second. All right. Hopefully that reduces at least some of it. But I actually thought, anyway, so I really enjoyed reading this story. I won't read the entire thing. It's a little bit long, but just to start it off, it's the 6th annual Black Blockchain Summit, and organizers are quietly removing a couple of rows of chairs from the room. And she even starts the little hate in here, I think, is hilarious. The Howard University auditorium we're in looks a third empty. There are at most 100 people in the crowd today, a far cry from the 1,500 who attended the summit over 3 days last year, when Sam Bankman-Fried was still hailed as crypto's boy wonder. Now in late September, he's weeks away from being convicted for an $8 billion fraud scheme. Meanwhile, the price of Bitcoin has been staggering back up from its post-FTX fallout. The public reputation of crypto and its promoters has not recovered. So then they have a picture with the sparse seats in there, and you can actually see me sitting there, in the front row there. So that was kind of funny, and a little bit of a pew pew. Despite this, the mood in the room is cheery. Like a crypto homecoming weekend, there's a table with free t-shirts reading "Satoshi is Black." If the summit's agenda is to be trusted, crypto and blockchain still have formidable power to financially liberate Black people, also to potentially end poverty, disrupt the prison-industrial complex, mitigate environmental injustice, and supercharge political dissidence. So then she goes on to talk a little bit about, and I thought this line about my man Sinclair Skinner, who is the summit's co-founder, enters the auditorium. She says Skinner is one of those people who's never met a stranger in his life. That is a nicely written way of describing him. He's wearing his usual "I Love Black People" t-shirt. It's his version of a black turtleneck. His cat eye lenses tinted pink, are giving Clark Kent meets P-Funk mothership. Come on, Brandy. You deserve for that one. And if anybody's met my man Sinclair, you know Brandy deserves this.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
That is funny. And there he is, pictured there. Got that's his outfit. It's his Cornell West scarf and jacket. It's his Steve Jobs turtleneck, or what's her name, Elizabeth Holmes turtleneck. But she goes on, does Brandy, I'm here as a non-believer. I worry that the Black utopia narrative of a crypto-fied future leaves out how many of us will survive to the end of the story. With Skinner on stage, though, my mood swivels towards optimism. It helps that he's an unusually credible narrator, a Howard alum with a storied history in organizing protests on that campus and for the 1995 Million Man March, as well as forming the first black super PAC for Barack Obama's 2012 campaign. To me, you could argue that is a not illogical or contradictory rise to where he is now. And then he's described as going all over HBCUs after 2017, spreading the gospel, of crypto. He went over to Mugabe, to Zimbabwe, but was only stopped by the uprising against Mugabe. But yet he is convinced that this could all lead to a Pan-African movement. And then in 2018, he created the Black Blockchain Summit. This was during crypto's early wave when Nipsey Hussle was evangelizing the digital revolution. Yeah, Nipsey, with all due respect, did get into that black capitalism a little bit. Skinner acknowledges that crypto is a gamble, but the promise of the future it might deliver seems to him magnitudes better than sticking to the status quo. When you have nothing to lose and no sign that TradeFi or Silicon Valley will show up for black people, gambling on crypto starts to look like a necessity. I don't know if I understand that logic, but if she's got his logic right, which I think she does, we just not on that exact same page. Crypto holds a certain appeal for black people. Black Americans are significantly more likely to invest in cryptocurrency than white Americans and to buy crypto as their first investment. Now, this is the one thing or one little thing in this article where I felt that little pang or tinge of, I wish somebody had, what were they saying to me the other day? Listen to my demo or listen to my album, which I'm saying is a full-fledged album. Or at least where my argument comes into play, because it's sort of left undiscussed or under-discussed as to why black people have a certain appeal to crypto. And that's where I felt like my little intervention is helpful. And one of the reasons is because of a black capitalist press, a black commercial press, and a new ecosphere of punditry and podcasting and social media all targeting that line of thought, that logic or illogic. So it's not just the certain appeal is not, it's not some mystical or unexplainable phenomena. A definitive picture of the current moment is hard to capture, but last year an estimated 25% of black Americans own cryptocurrency. This is a lot. This is in my Cryptoganda article and chapter. Same kind of basic points here. Black people are significantly less likely than white people to think cryptocurrencies is risky. Again, why? And she points a little bit to black celebrity, but I think again my point is that it's a little bigger than that. And I actually don't think black celebrities are the main reason. I think, again, sort of like what I was saying about the trickle-down effect of a Peniel Joseph on the political climate or consciousness of the community, there's a trickle-down that you could maybe argue it this way, but the celebrity link is, I think, less direct. The celebrities may be, in fact, influencing that media ecosphere, but I think the more black people who are in crypto are convinced of it by the Charlemagnes and the Invest Fests and the Earn Your Leisures and the $1 million worth, all of them are more likely to have been pushing it than, and this tradition of a black commercial press that has been pushing investment and quote unquote newness as the solution for a long time. But she says, it doesn't take long for me to realize I'm surrounded by legends of the black crypto movement. I think I was slow to catch up to that fact when I was there that day. That all these people with, Arthur Hayes, is one of the ones that she mentions. He's a divisive figure now because apparently, I forgot. Last year, he pleaded guilty to one count of violating a Bank Secrecy Act and received house arrest. and $10 million fine, but has apparently got a new way of looking at it. A new, Then there's Naja Roberts. This is someone we've covered here, albeit a little bit critically. Lamar Wilson, we've been critical. That's the dude that I got into. We've debated Isaiah Jackson. I debated him here or on Geechee's platform. They were all there. As we've talked even a little bit, the Marcy Project, she talks about that effort a little bit. And this is Isaiah and Lamar during their presentation, and there I am. I don't know what I was exactly doing in the moment, but there I am in the front row checking it out. And but despite it, we've covered this here. I'll put some links in the show description. The whole Marcy Project's claim with Jay-Z and Bitcoin and all that. But as Brandy notes here, Bitcoin sank in value, and a number of residents were left feeling that they'd been sold volatile magic beans by Jack and Jay. They wanted parks and better housing, not digital currency, or at least they didn't want to depend on digital currency to get parks and housing. Right on. Then she says, I'm about to hear a more robust case against crypto because Skinner, in tradition of inviting dissenters to share the mic, welcomes outspoken critic Jared Ball to the stage. Ball is a professor at Morgan State University, a firebrand leftist, and author of The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. Firebrand leftist. I'm gonna come back in a minute as to why I got focused on that description. But anyway, he urges the audience to reject the bootstrap narrative that Black people can achieve the American dream by buying their way into it. The problem, he says, is not a lack of financial or technological literacy. The problem is policies that draw wealth forever upward while everyone else scrambles for the leftovers. He cites the stats. Black people make up about 14% of the population, but just 4% of national wealth. I think one or the other of us should check that. I don't know if that's exactly right. Is that what I said, and is that right? I don't think that's what I said, and I'm not sure it's right. It may be that I said it and it's wrong. It may be that I said it and it's right. It may be that I didn't say it and it's right, or I said something akin to it and it's right or wrong. I'm not exactly sure, but it's something like that. But this sounds like something I definitely said. We're told to go back and invest in savings in Bitcoin while other people get rich. Ball's words sparked the most rousing reaction of the day. What few grumbles I hear are drowned out by cheers and amens. For a minute, it feels like I'm in church. See, I'm saying we need it. Well, right on, Skinner says, giving Ball a good-natured ribbing. The two men laugh, hugging as they leave the stage. It's a moment I see playing out throughout the summit. Everyone seems to disagree on what the best solutions might be, but they all share an understanding of the problem. That's one line I don't agree with in Brandy on in this one. I don't think there's at all an understanding or shared understanding of the problem at all. Not at all. But nonetheless, then she makes reference to couple points that we've made here repeatedly about the Zero Wealth Report for Black people by 2053. But then she says, she continues on, I move into the hallway. The most interesting conversations, as always, at these things are off stage. And I catch Wilson confronting Ball just after his talk. And I think that's a fair word. Lamar he did kind of roll up on me quickly. He was waiting on me. I said that before. He was waiting on me. As they go head to head, a crowd forms a circle around them. There's a rattan throne chair positioned off to one side, recalling the ghost of Huey Newton and the original Black Panther Party for self-defense. Wilson launches the accusation that Ball lacks the imagination to believe the future can change. As proof, he calls up his own life story. Now, one, I think this is interesting for a couple reasons. One of which I'm going to get to in a second. One is that Brandy definitely caught this correctly and uses the right language. He confronted, he launched. That's, I think, accurate. As is the description of the setting, as you can see here in picture, which I think is funny because you got sisters taking pictures of the chair while he comes at me right after the joint, right after my presentation. We had just been given each our African I'm not exactly what the exact title would be, but our African cloth, ceremonial cloth offering that we were given, and he's already going at it. All right. But the other thing that I think is interesting is that so my point is she captures this. She must have been right there, but I did not know she was right there. There was no direct communication at all that I can recall, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Then she says here, I thought this was hilarious. Suddenly, the authoritative voice of an elder statesman enters the chat. It doesn't matter. Ball lets out an exasperated sigh. This is Reggie Middleton, creator of the Veritasium coin. Some months back, I'd watched all 11 minutes of Middleton's hype video. Imagine a classic and one tape, but instead of slam dunks and behind the back passes, it serves clips of Middleton's dunking on financial analysts. This again.
Now listen.
A little bit of bars. That's a little bit of bars. She said, because his hype videos are like, you can see this, it's like an and one, but instead of the fancy passes, he's over there, oh, my analysis is right. Oh. And then as she points out that someone says, break it down for him, Reggie, and someone adds to the rap battle vibe. It did take on a little rap battle vibe, and there's a good picture of us in the heat of the moment. She talks about how, so this is the other part. So look at the language here. Middleton's words track with what he told me of his origin story. He grew up a good kid in middle-class family in Long Island. Chuck D from Public Enemy lived on one side of the block, Eddie Murphy on the other. Howard Stern and his parents were the only white people around. That's funny. I never heard that part. But my point is, just put this, corner your mind, Grapes, that he told me. She's saying he told her. And earlier I'm saying she's capturing all of this, but I don't know she's even there. I leave before the conversation between Middleton and Ball ends, so she missed some of the good stuff, apparently, though I don't expect it to be easily revolved. In it, I hear echoes of the talks delivered by Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois a century earlier on this same campus. It's not lost on me that Howard is an appropriate host for these seemingly contradictory ideals. I think that's another good point that she makes. Yeah, I think that's a good point that she makes. But this is some good context that I didn't bring up before in my discussion of my visit there, because I had missed all of this. And I think it's really good that she covers this. The previous day, Skinner had hosted a virtual fireside chat with brother Cameron Winklevoss, who owns, along with his twin brother, the crypto exchange Gemini. Gemini is a major sponsor of the summit. Listening to Winklevoss, it's easy to maintain my crypto skepticism. He talked about discovering crypto while partying at Ibiza. He dropped quotes, Ibiza. He dropped quotes from Gandhi and Winston Churchill and complained about the empire building of the SEC. Of course he would, because a month later she points out the state of New York would file a lawsuit against Gemini for allegedly deceiving customers. So she goes on to say, that he compares this crypto to Wild West, and then it's noted that the good guys of the Wild West story he's describing of crypto are people like Wells Fargo, who Brandy quite rightly reminds us did horrific things when it came to black families wiping out their chance at accumulating multi-generational wealth through those bad loans and predatory loans, et cetera, and so forth. She says, I'd listened to Winklevoss's talk through headphones while traveling to the Howard campus from my home in Baltimore, and it was hard not to make a connection to the vacant city blocks I saw through the scratched-up train windows. A 2008 city lawsuit against Wells Fargo revealed that the bank targeted black customers in Baltimore with predatory high-interest loans and higher refinancing rates than for white customers. When later that year, a historic housing crisis arrived, the result was mass displacement. Nationally, black people's wealth was cut in half. Now I see a proliferation of Bitcoin ATMs in black and Latino neighborhoods. For me, it hits differently when the Winklevosses, who made their first Bitcoin investments after netting $65 million from Facebook, and never mind after already being rich and inheriting a whole lifetime of wealth and family wealth, when they talk about the language of revolution. So then she talks about that as Brandy comes back to what I also missed. And again, this speaks to what I'm asking you to hold into your back of your mind about her being there. I didn't really notice she was there. She talks to to Reggie. Okay. And then here she is. She's talking about one of the last panels. She's talking about Dead Prez getting ready to perform, and then Tifonia Edwards, who created Guap Coin. And then she says, I asked her to sign a copy of her book, Crypto for My People, which she does graciously. I have to admit, I have not read this book. Though I am familiar more with the background of Guap Coin and a point that Brandy raises here about it not being adopted. But anyway, Evans's claim with Guap Coin is that by creating a black dollar in an alternative cryptocurrency, she hopes that black communities will be able to track and bolster the flow of their wealth. Now, again, as I've been saying, so put in your back of your mind, then she continues here. Her coin attempts a solution to a challenge Ball, meaning me, had articulated earlier in the day. How he'd ask, can we collectively define and actualize black economic power? Did I ask that question? I'm not sure if that's an accurate representation of what I was asking. Can we collectively define and actualize black economic power? And what I don't think though, again, admittedly not having read the book on Guap Coin, but just the argument around the development of an alternative coin or currency, that this is going to be a solution to poverty, does not make sense. So I again have not read the book, but it does not make sense. And I'm not sure she's read any of my work if she's arguing that her Guap Coin answers any of my questions, even asked earlier in the day. For Evans, the answer to that question will necessarily come from a black-owned company whose protocols are based on social equity and human rights, a company that closes the gap between who's buying into crypto and who gets to take the money and run. Admittedly, this is a tough ask, given that black entrepreneurs receive less than 2% of venture capital dollars every year. Evans's Guap Coin is not taking hold. That would require a buy-in of her peers, and most of the folks at the summit are convinced that Bitcoin is the only way forward. So this is oh man, this section right here brilliantly, I think, encapsulates so many of the contradictions and flawed analyses involved in all of this. One, again, my argument is not being really properly represented, and it's not being addressed at all, as is maybe being claimed here by someone who was talking to someone else about me, but not to me or about my work in a meaningful way. If I'm not to be part of the conversation, at least, but referenced, as I keep saying, steel man or steel person my argument, and then show where it's flawed. This idea, but framing my argument in as a question of, can we collectively define and actualize black economic power, and that this is even claimed by Evans to be responded to in a positive way by her own coin, is just wildly a mess. But in this part here, so here you have a black blockchain summit with the claim that there's going to be solutions to everything, including black material concerns. It's sponsored by a Winklevi, a Winklevoss twin. The conference, that is. With the goal, including with the t-shirt Satoshi is Black, to get black people into Bitcoin. With also, so again, it's a white, at least, I don't know to what extent, mainly, I forgot exactly how she phrased it. It's overwhelmingly funded, well supported by white philanthropy and investment, with the label of Black liberation and Black autonomy, with the claim that that autonomy is going to come through an investment in a Bitcoin that is not Black owned, invented, or controlled, yet is going to contain people here who, like Evans, are going to argue that a Black digital currency is going to be a solution, when she can't even get black people at a black blockchain conference to support her own coin because they're all wanting to get into Bitcoin. It's a pretzel twist of logic or illogic